Hi everyone, it's Tammy, and I am going to answer the questions from the 12 cards of Halloween. I know that this is later than I expected to do it, and I apologize for that. I did expect to do it sometime in October after the 12 cards of Halloween, and it just did not get done. So I do apologize. And then when I went on vacation, everything just kind of went off the deep end. Well, not really, but it just didn't work. And I cannot find my regular tripod that I love to use for videos like this. I don't know where it is. I know I took it to the cabin and that's the last I saw of it, but I'm almost positive that I brought it home because I remember sticking it in a bag, but I cannot for the life of me find it this morning. So I am winging it with my selfie stick, and sorry if the quality is worse or if it's movie. I'm trying not to. So I did write down a ton of the questions, but I still have some questions probably to look for. But I'm going to go through the questions that I've written down and see how long the video is. And if it's long enough, then I'll just stop then. And then maybe I'll do another question and answer session if you guys are interested in that. So if you are, I guess leave a comment below and let me know that you're interested, and you can leave me some questions. How does that sound? Okay, so some of these are Halloween related, and one of them is, what is your favorite costume? I think I answered that in another video, but my favorite costume, I think when I was a kid, was either a cowgirl or a hobo. It was always the ones that you made yourself because I did not like the costumes that you bought at the store. They were plastic faces with a vinyl, like plastic outfit. It was awful. And the little face had eye holes and then a little place for you to talk or breathe through, I guess. But you could stick your tip of your tongue through it, and that's what everybody did. And then your tongue started hurting. It was crazy. So I really liked the ones that you made yourself. Now for my kids, one year they went as Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc. That is probably one of my favorites. They were so stinking cute. I mean, can't even remember all the things that they have been, but that one sticks out in my head, so I'm going to say that one. Favorite place to trick or treat. My favorite place to trick or treat was always at, well, the neighborhood. We would always, it depended on where we were on Halloween. When I was a child, we would either go to my neighborhood and then all the surrounding neighborhoods. We would take a pillowcase and fill that up, and we wouldn't come home until it was about full. I mean, seriously, we got a ton of candy. There were some apartments close-ish to us that we could go to, and they would sometimes have lots of candy. And there was one house that was up on a hill, and they would give you full-size candy bars. And I really liked that house, of course. So when I got to be a grown-up, my tradition was always to try to give full-size candy bars. So not every year did I do that, and I didn't do it this year either, but like for many years, especially when my kids were young and enjoying trick-or-treating, I would give out full-size candy bars. Just go to Sam's Club and buy a whole bunch of the boxes, maybe 4 or 5 boxes, because we had lots of trick-or-treaters, and that was always fun. And I'm sorry, I'm not telling you who these questions were from. The first one was from Barb Faucher, and the second one was Karis Treadway, and this third one is from Tanya Smith asking, how old is too old to trick or treat? I did like some people's answers. They were like, there's an age or there's a limit or something. I don't know. It was really cute. I think that too old to trick or treat is when you don't want to dress up anymore. I don't like the trick or treaters that come to the house in their regular clothes, and some of them don't even say trick or treat. It's crazy. It's hold out their bag like you're just supposed to fill it with candy. It's crazy. I don't enjoy that. So if you're going to be one of those trick or treaters, I would say don't bother. You're probably too old. Now you can go steal people's. No, I didn't say that. Niecy McNeil asked, what did she ask? Oh, she asked about I put teal pumpkin, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. She asked if we knew what the teal pumpkin was, and no, I had no idea what the teal pumpkin was. And it is for people who have food allergies, and it's a really good idea. You can put out, I don't know if you use a teal pumpkin to put it out, but you can, like, if you just have an alternative to give to kids who are allergic to peanut butter or peanuts or chocolate or whatever, because so many candies and so many different things, coloring, all of that. There are so many things that people can be allergic to. So that is a really good idea. And actually, I do usually try to do that, but I was thinking towards smaller kids. So I would do like little stickers or pencils, something like that. But I guess that could go for bigger kids too. But that's in my head when I was doing that, I was doing it for kids who maybe were too young to have a chocolate bar or whatever, especially with the full size candy bars. Sometimes the parents would just say, no, thank you. I mean, it was very nice, but I would usually have a second something so that if they didn't want that, they could have something else. Now, the older kids, they were all about it, but the younger ones, it's, too much is too much. Jody Sylvester asked, do you like home baked or store bought treats? And around here, it is definitely store bought. I don't even think I would try to give out home baked because I would be wasting my time. People would not eat them. It's very weird. I don't know if it's just in Indiana because it's been around for a long time, but people will put yucky things into uh, their Halloween candy. As a matter of fact, we got a message this year saying that there was some metal found in someone's candy bag in southern Hamilton County, which is where I live. So people do some mean things, and it doesn't matter if you're in a ritzy neighborhood or a poor neighborhood, it does not matter. I would not make treats and send them to the trick-or-treaters. Although when I was a child, I would love it if I got a popcorn ball. Those were so good. And I know that Jody was talking about some of the things that they give or get, and they got some really cool things like cans of soda. I never ever would have done that. Um, that's just cool. And I think that there were some home baked goods that they had mentioned getting or giving, but either way, that's awesome. That's just not something that we would do around here. Um, how did you get started crafting? Steph Gray asked me. And that's probably a good question because I can't remember not crafting. My mom crafted. My mom was a big crocheter. She also did a lot of plastic canvas. She liked to draw. She liked to color. So I think that it was probably just something that I picked up from her and just have always done. We would always get things to paint, like there were like little plaster ornaments that you could paint when you were a kid. We would paint those and give those to like our grandparents for Christmas or whatnot. Uh, I really don't remember a time when I didn't do something crafty, so it's been forever. Shell Riddell asked, what kind of candy was at the bottom of your bag? That is a good question. That's hilarious. Now, I told you guys about the metal and all of that. There was a time when I was a kid that it was really big that people would put razor blades or needles in candy. And my mom was always very cautious. So she would take all of our candy and she would cut up the candy bars into little bite-sized pieces so that she could see if there was anything in them. You could even take them to uh, the local hospital and they would x-ray your candy for you, but we never did that. We always just, my mom always just cut them up. And so she would cut up, like, I don't know, you would try to get your Snicker bars or whatever you wanted first before she got a chance to do it, because she would cut them up and put them in Ziploc bags, and it would be like all the chocolate bars go in a Ziploc bag, all the taffy goes in a zip. So it was all opened and crummy, and it wasn't a ton of fun to eat after she had done that. And you didn't know if you were getting a hunk of Milky Way or a hunk of Snicker bar or a hunk of burning love. I mean, you had no idea what was in there. It was crazy. So the things I like to eat, like the Jolly Ranchers, and I've always liked the fruity candy, not maybe more than chocolate, but as much as chocolate probably. Um, it depends on how I'm feeling, but I will often go for fruit flavored as opposed to chocolate, unless, I don't know, but I love chocolate, so I don't know. But the things that would be left at the bottom of mine would be licorice. I did not, and I still do not like licorice. I didn't used to like red licorice. I like that okay now, but that would always be left at the bottom. Um, I love taffy, so I would trade for Laffy Taffies or I would trade for Tootsie Rolls because I liked all of that. And I would even trade some of my chocolate for that, but nobody wanted to trade with you when you had your chocolate in a Ziploc bag. My brother and I would be like, oh my gosh. But, she was trying to be safe. so it's okay. But I guess that the stuff that was left on the bottom of mine would be bubble gum and lollipops and licorice. Those would probably be the worst of mine. We would sometimes take those chocolate bags and put them in the freezer so that we would have frozen chocolate, which I don't know if any of you guys eat that, but it's pretty good. I mean, you can take a hunk of chocolate and stick it in your mouth and just kind of suck on it, and it's just good, and it makes a piece of chocolate last a long time. Okay, just remembering. Let's see. I didn't write down other questions, and I know that there were some. So let me go on to some more questions. I know that there were some more winners that had questions, but I, for some reason, didn't write those questions down. Lulu asked, how do you manage time? Like, you have so many hats, and you find time to create and travel and YouTubing. How? That is a good question, and it's just this season of my life, to be quite honest. I would, if I had started this YouTube channel 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to continue it. I am 45 years old. I have a freshman in college and I have a junior in high school. My son does not live with me. So when I come home from work, it's pretty much my husband and me for the evening. And I have a few hours by myself before my husband gets home because I go to work early and then I get off early. And my husband goes in at a normal time and gets off at 5 and usually doesn't get home until about 6. So I have about 2.5 or 3 hours by myself before he gets home. So that helps a lot too. I am able to come into my craft room, and I think that's something that's really important, if this is a priority to you, would be to have a space that you can leave out and open for yourself to create. I used to like bring stuff downstairs and craft on the kitchen table when I had a minute and then take it back upstairs. And my goal at that point was, this is when I was scrapbooking, was to do one scrapbook page a day. And even that I couldn't keep up with. So I do understand, I work full time. I do Stampin' Up. I I try to incorporate the Stampin' Up with the YouTube because, as you know, lots of my videos are Stampin' Up related. I try to post my card making. I try to make it so that it's easiest for me to keep everything fluent and everything is kind of about the same thing. I mean, I know I do planning videos and that's not Stampin' Up related, but if I can make them related, I do that. I enjoy posting YouTube. I did not know that I would like YouTube as much as I do, but it's a lot of fun to get to know you guys and it's a lot of fun to share. And I think that I missed my calling. I really think that I needed to be a teacher. Now, I can't say I missed my calling because I really like what I'm doing now. I'm in IT and I am a nuclear medicine technologist by trade. Some of you guys have asked me what I do. I went to school for nuclear medicine and I was a nuclear medicine tech for years, and I was the director of imaging, which is like all of ultrasound, x-ray, nuclear medicine, CT, MRI, all of those diagnostic imaging areas. And then I started my family, and as a director, I had my kids, and I thought, you know what, I really don't want. It was very difficult at that season of my life to be the boss at work and be a new mom. So we moved back to Indiana from Louisville, Kentucky. We moved to Indiana. My father had passed away, and I wanted to be closer to my family anyway. And my husband's, at the time, his family also lived here. So we moved back here, and I became just a nuclear tech again. And that worked for a couple of years. And then, I don't know, I've got that personality and that drive that I can never just be the bottom thing. I have to like move up. So there was a position for radiology imaging systems administrator, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to try that. So I did, and I got that, and then I became the manager of that department, and then now I'm the director of that department, and we have just grown tremendously. And so it still is imaging related, but now I am over the IT side. So I support all of the systems that the radiologists and the technologists use, including their workstations and their applications. All of that is what I do. So I mean, it is a pretty, it keeps me busy. I don't have to work from home a ton. I do some, but not a ton. I would say in general, I work between 40 and 45 hours a week, sometimes more, but usually that's about right. So it's nice that I have the time to dedicate to something else that I really love, and that's YouTube and crafting. So it, like I said, it all fits together. If YouTube couldn't be my crafting spot too, I couldn't and wouldn't do it. And if I couldn't do, I mean, they have to be together for me. Otherwise, these two separate things would be too much. I couldn't continue both of those. Um, let's see. So I hope I'm answering your question. Create and travel. I don't really travel a lot. I know that I did for just a little minute. It seemed like I did. There's my Jambo. Oh, I love this kitty cat. Such a good boy. I know it seemed like I did, and it seems like the end of the year is when I do more traveling, but most of it is for work. So I was gone for 2 weeks, but one of the weeks was work, and then one of them was for pleasure. So I really, and then I'm going to be gone another week later in November, or actually early December. So I, and that's about all the travel that I usually do for work. And then I kind of like the October in a beach area because it's getting to be, it's not so hot in that area because I don't like really, really hot. So like Orlando in June is awful to me. I've done it. I've been there, done that, you know, and you kind of get to know what you like. Um, I will take like smaller vacations sometimes throughout the year, like go on a weekend trip or something like that. But my husband really only gets 1 week of vacation. So, uh, we try to save it for something that we can do fun together. And it happens to be, since I've been with him, that we've done that usually in October, which kind of stinks too because I love October in Indiana. So it's hard to be gone in October. It's one of my favorite months. It is my favorite month. So that makes it a little more difficult too. But I don't know. It just all works out. However you can make it work is what you have to do. So did I answer all of that? Time to create, travel, and YouTube. So I think that that helps. I mean, I don't know. And then, you know, I incorporate my family into my YouTube as much as I can too. They don't necessarily like it as much as I do, but they're good sports about it. So you should, hopefully, if you haven't seen already, but I do have some videos with them from the cabin when we went there together. So I did try to do a little bit of videoing while I was on vacation. So that was fun. Oh, my cat laying on my questions I cannot see, Jambonis. And then Barb also asked, what was your curfew to come in from playing when you were young? My curfew to come in from playing was when the lights came on in the neighborhood. That was when we had to come in. And my parents would turn on our porch light too, which also meant that it was time to come in. And I remember being a kid, and if I heard 3 horns, like beep, 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 that meant that I had to come inside. I don't know if my mom needed me for something, and that was any time of the day. So I could be at my neighbor's house or whatever and hear those 3 horns and know that that meant that I had to come in. And I need a drink. I have some orange juice here. Good stuff. It's getting to be that time when you need some vitamin C, so that's what I have. Addicted to Nails asked what was my scariest Halloween experience. That is a good question. And I don't know that I have a good answer. I get scared pretty easily. My husband calls me the world's scaredest lady, or the world's scaredest woman, something like that. He's funny because anything can like scare me, but I don't like it when things like jump out at you. So I'd say a haunted house with, you know, the things that jump out at you, those are the scariest to me. um I do have a funny story that we did. My ex-husband and I, we love Halloween, and we used to deck out the house and, you know, get dressed up and pass out candy and just kind of be a fun neighborhood house for people to come to. And there was there were 2 times that I remember as my favorites. One time I was pregnant with my daughter, so I hadn't had her yet. She was born November 29th, so I was very pregnant. And I remember I was wearing just a Halloween sweater, and I said, you know, this year I'm just going as a pregnant lady because it was too much. And my husband, my ex-husband, dressed up as a scary, we did have these latex masks, and these weren't those yucky ones from when I was a kid. These are those nice ones that look really scary. And I don't remember which one he had on, but he had on something spooky. And then he dressed up spooky and had blood splattered clothes, and he wore the same clothes every year for years. So it worked out well. It wasn't like he had to buy new stuff, but he had this scary mask on, and we in my old house, you had to, like, there was a little sidewalk that walked up to the porch, and I was sitting on the porch with my bucket of candy to hand out to the kids, so they had to walk up to the porch to get the candy. And and there was a light next, like the porch kind of went like this and then turned, and where the turn was, there was a pole light, and my husband was standing next to the pole light, just standing there, like, very stoic. I mean, you couldn't see his face because he had a mask on anyway, but he was not moving, and he was just standing there, and he was scary looking just to look at. He was scary. So, like, if little kids came up, I would usually say something to him like, hey, Leo, turn around or take your mask off or whatever, because we didn't want to scare the little kids. But then there were these punk kids in the neighborhood, and they were probably, I don't know, 12 years old, on the verge of getting too old, because some of them had costumes on, some of them didn't, and there were about 6 of them. They start walking up the walkway, and you can hear them. Oh, that's not real. No, he's not real. That's not real. And then they're like, yeah, that's real. And they're like, no, that's not real. So Leo's standing there totally still, and he can hear him talking too. So he's just standing there. They come up, they get the candy. I make them say trick or treat, because that's a pet peeve of mine. They get their candy, they start walking out, and one of the kids touches Leo. Oh my gosh, game on. Leo goes rah, like this. They were so scared. Those kids took off running. It was hilarious. We were laughing our hind ends off. It was so funny. And the next year, the kids came back and said that was the scariest they'd ever been. So it was pretty funny. And then when we moved here, our kids were really small. So we let them know that this is dad and, or mom, because I would sometimes wear the mask too, but not usually. Usually it was just Leo. And so my kids would even be scared of Leo when he was in this costume. And so we'd always have to say, this is daddy, and they still were like, no, that's not my daddy. But then we did the same kind of a thing here, only my husband was on the porch, and because we don't have the same kind, well, I guess we do, but we don't have the light, and it's not as long as a walkway. It's just a different way, different setup. But we had, on our porch, we had like an inflatable, like, oh, what are those things called? People get married under them, like an arbor or whatever. It was a Halloween one, and it had like a big spider on the top, and then it had like things coming down, so you had to walk through that to get to the front porch, and it was just kind of fun. So that was something. And then if the kids were too scared, I would walk out and give them their candy, but I stood behind there to pass out the candy. Well, my husband did the same thing to some other kids in this neighborhood, and they would refuse to come. So, like, you would hear people talk about our house as, that's the scary house, don't go to that, that's the scary. It was so funny. So it worked out. It was fun. It was a hit, and it was neat, and the parents loved it. And we used to, and I'm just talking about Halloween because I really do like this holiday. We used to, actually in my old neighborhood and in this neighborhood, but more in this neighborhood because my kids were older. But I would always make sloppy joes for Halloween, and I'd put them in a crock pot and start them when I went to work. And so when I got home, they were all nice and delicious. And then the neighborhood families, our friends would come over with their kids. Everybody would get ready here. We would help make their faces up and all that. But first we'd all eat sloppy joes. They'd bring chips and pop, and we'd have sloppy joes and chips and pop. And I'd make hot cider, and we would spike the adults hot cider and, not the kids hot cider. And all the women would walk around with the kids, and the men would usually stay behind and pass out candy and try to scare the kids or whatever. So that's how it worked here. Some of the men would still be at work. Some of them didn't really participate in the neighborhood. You get kind of those fuddy-duddies. But I loved walking around with my friend Sharon. We did it for years. Other people came and, dropped in and dropped out. But Sharon and I did it for as long as I can think that the kids trick-or-treated, we would always do it, and it was so much fun. And we would walk around with our spiked cider, and sometimes we would even put the crock pot in a wagon and like pass it out to the parents that wanted some, because we all kind of knew each other in the neighborhood. We have 75 houses and it's a smaller neighborhood, so if other parents wanted some of the cider, they could get some, and it was fun. So that was a really good memory. Those are actually, even this Halloween, I texted Sharon because she doesn't live here anymore, and I said, my favorite Halloween memories are with you and walking around with our spiked cider. And she said, oh, me too. I really wish I could have some of that right now and some sloppy joes. So she remembers, and I mean, it was just great. So let's see. What inspires you to craft was asked by Thrifty50. Anything and everything. And I'm sorry I'm moving this. My hand is getting tired. So let's see. Yikes. Trying to find a spot that I can, there, maybe that'll work. What inspires me? Everything and anything. I'm not kidding. I think that crafty people see things differently than maybe non-crafty people. And I think that you can train yourself to do that. If you're interested in being crafty and you don't feel like you are, I think that you can train yourself to do that. But my husband and I were talking one day, and this is the reason I say this, is because we were driving, and there was some old beat up car, and he saw it on the side of the road, or on the road. I don't know if it was side. I don't know where it was, but he said, oh my gosh, look at that car. And I'm like, yeah, it's gross. And he's like, no, that's a whatever, whatever, whatever. Oh my gosh, that could, so he can see a beat up car and know what the potential is. And I kind of feel the same way about some weird stuff. Like if I see, I don't know, if I see a piece of scrap paper or something like that, I can look at it and go, oh my gosh, this could be a whatever or whatever or whatever. You kind of look at things differently, and you see the potential as opposed to what exactly it is right now. I know that my friend Tanya and I have kind of talked about it too, and she feels the same way. And like she's doing the 12 crafts of Thanksgiving, and she's doing some wonderful stuff. But like even that, she takes ribbon and makes these gorgeous bows out of them, which I haven't done yet. I need to do that. And her second craft was this lantern that she put pine cones and pumpkins in, and she had put some glitter on some of the pine cones and made this gorgeous bow and put it on the lantern. It's really beautiful. And I mean, just seeing just a plain old lantern, she saw that and knew that she wanted, I mean, I think that that's just what a crafty person kind of does. And then I get inspired by other people for sure. And I think that once you start doing stuff, you get more and more creative. So I think that creativity breeds creativity. So if you continue to do it, you will get more and more creative. I know that Pinterest is a wonderful spot to go to when I'm feeling like, I don't know what to do with this. I will go to Pinterest and, oh my goodness, the sparks just start clicking, and you're going, oh gosh, I could do this or this or this. And sometimes you get overwhelmed by all of the thoughts that are in your own head, because you know that there's so many things that you want to do and you just can't do them all. So back to the Lulu's question, I can't do everything I want to do for sure, because there's just too much stuff. But you just kind of prioritize and do what you can. And so I guess that answers Thrifty50's question. Thanks, Liz. Pam, you asked what your favorite Halloween activity was. I think that I've answered that with the whole trick-or-treating thing. Denise asked your favorite Halloween candy. That is a good question. I like all candy. It's not even a question. But I guess my favorite Halloween candy when I was a kid would probably have been M&Ms. Stephanie asked your favorite treat at a Halloween party. And that would always be something that somebody made and decorated to look like something. I remember I used to make this spice cake and pumpkin muffins, and I would make it look like a web, and then the spiders were the muffins. It was really cute. So things like that would be what attracted me, and I would try those. Tanya asked, what is your favorite fall treat? And I think that that's kind of the same question, although one of my favorite adult fall treats is definitely the pumpkin spice latte at Starbucks. Shell asked, do you hand out anything other than candy? And yes, I think I answered that too. I do sometimes hand out like pencils or stickers or something like that. And Eva asked, what is it about paper crafting that you like? That's a good question. I like the instant gratification, I think. I think I like that you can take something and pretty much quickly make something else. And you can also use it to brighten someone else's day. So not only am I getting excitement out of making it and enjoyment out of creating something, I also get enjoyment when I give it to someone else. And I think that's part of the whole paper crafting thing. I do like that. I do sometimes, and I'm not going to lie, I get discouraged when people aren't excited about it. If I give them something that I know I worked really hard on and they don't seem to appreciate it, that really kind of bothers me and irks me and hurts my feelings. So I am choosier as to who I give stuff to now than I used to be. I used to like take things to work and just, give them to everybody. And I don't know, it's probably still a good thing to do. I feel like I have gotten my feelings hurt too many times to do that. So I don't do that. And I do know that people appreciate it, even though they may express it in a different way. I'm more mature now than I used to be about stuff like that. But I still am choosier as to who I give it to. I love giving things to people that I know love and can appreciate it. So that's probably the best answer. And it's been 30 minutes, so I am going to stop this now. But if you guys still have more questions, and it can be about anything, crafty, whatever, life, if you want my opinion on something or you want my idea, if you want to ask me questions down below, I will be happy to do another one of these videos. I don't know when I will do it, but it kind of depends, I guess, on how many questions I get, and maybe I can answer some once a month or something like that. I don't know. I'm just tossing out an idea. But if you guys have some questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer them. And I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for caring enough to ask, and I appreciate it. Bye! How do I turn this thing off? Oh no! Is it this one? It's a Bluetooth selfie, but I don't know how to turn it off. I guess I will just have to bring you close. Come here. Bye!